Welcome back. In this video, we will be learning two-dimensional array or multi-dimensional array. Two-dimensional array are represented for tables or matrix. So you already know what is matrix. It may be a 1 cross 1 matrix or a 3 cross 3 matrix, right? Just like a table which contains a rows and columns, right? So here we are seeing a table which contains a rows and columns. In the pattern printing program, you know how to define a row and a column. Row is always defined using I and column is always defined using J. So using rows and columns, we have to write a program which will provide us a two-dimensional array or a 2 cross, or it may be any type of input depending on whatever we are giving. It may be a 3 cross array or 3 cross 3 matrix or 3-dimensional array or whatever it is, but everything comes under 2-dimensional array itself, right? And always remember, rows starts with 0, right? So it is 0th row, next followed by first row, and next followed by second row. Similarly, columns are also always indicated by 0th column, first column, and second column, right? I'll be defining this particular row as 0th row, 0th column, right? 0th row, 0th column. This is how you represent in your matrix as well. Similarly, for second column, I will represent as 0th row, first column, right? Next, it is 0th row, second column. If you see, like these are the one like which we are taking. Next, it goes on first row. The first row in this table. So when the control will move to the next row, it would be first row, 0th column, right? Next, it is first row, first column, correct? In this way, the loop goes on until it reaches the end of the array. So always remember, the condition would be the length of this particular array. Here we are taking the array as 3 cross 3, right? So for 3 cross 3, the number of elements would be 3 itself. 3 cross 3, the size or length of the array would go as 3 itself. So this is how I create a row. It means that 3 rows must be present. 3 rows. Then how many columns? Columns depend on the rows. If you remember, in the pattern printing program, I always mention that columns depend on the rows, right? Here, since we are defining a 3 columns, so this would be the number of elements in a row, right? The number of elements is 3. The number of elements in a row, correct? So the number of elements we are defining in this array is 3. So this would be the number of rows, right? Number of rows. Row is indicated by I. Number of rows dot length. So I will make use of a length of a rows to extract the column value, and I will make use of a row array length to get the row value, right? Now let us take an example. Let me provide the values like 1, 2, 3, right? Next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now this is a program I will use to create this array. Now let us see how exactly it works. Initially I is 0. So if you notice in the program I is 0 and I am using and here I am providing the input as the same array which I have created here, right? So this we will be taking as an input and we will check whether this program works for this or not, right? So when I is 0, let us create a loop here. So when I is 0, right, the condition is 0 less than numbers dot length. Numbers dot length is nothing but the size of an array. Now size of an array is nothing but number of elements in an array, right? It can be so this is the first element, next second element, and next this is the third element, right? So numbers dot length is nothing but the size of array, which is 3, right? It is 3. Now it will check where it will check for 0. Is 0 less than 3? The condition is true. So So when the condition is true, the control would be pointing to the first to 0th row, right? To 0th row. Now it will come to the j loop where it will be where j is 0. J is 0 means the control would be pointing towards towards 0th column, right? So control will be pointing here. Here I have to enter the value. So here it is I equal to 0, right? And now it is numbers of I dot length. If you notice here, it is numbers of I dot length. So numbers of I means I value is 0. So numbers of I means numbers of I means it will store as number of, what is I value? It is 0. 0 means the first row. So the first row length is 3. Count the number of elements here. The number of elements present is 3. Now it will start printing, right? Now it will start printing numbers of I, j. I remains constant because it is the row. So row value remains constant here. So row is 0. We can blindly tell that it will start printing different column values for a same row. So j keeps on incrementing. So numbers of I of j. So what is I? I is 1. At 0th position 1 is placed. So it will print 1. Right? So I of j. What is the value of I means it is 0. 0 comma j value is 1. Sorry, j value is 0. Right? So it will print 1. This is the first element what I am printing. Next j gets incremented, I remains same, 0 comma 1. So what is in place of 0th row first column? It is 2, right? So here if you notice it is 2. Similarly, moving on to the increment of j. Now j gets incremented to 2, right? 0th row second column it is 3. So 3 gets printed. Control will be pointing here. Next, when j is 3, it will check for the condition. Is 3 less than 3? When j is 3, 3 is less than 3. 3 is not less than 3, so this condition is false. Now it will come out of the loop and the control will be pointing towards the next line because system.out.println is present, which will point to the next line since we have used a println, not just print. The value of I gets incremented to 1, where again this condition gets checked, right? Numbers dot length, that is the size of I is 3. It will check for the first row, right? First row means the control will be pointing here. Now the value of j becomes 0, right? When j is 0, yes, numbers of I dot length is nothing but the same size which we get from the previous row as well, because if you see this is a 3 cross 3 matrix, not a 3 cross 4. In such case, like the size would be differing, but here since it is a 3 cross 3 matrix what we are creating in first row, if you notice here this is my first row, right? So in this first row the number of elements are 3, so it will check for the condition. This is to check for the condition. So when j is 0, 0 is less than 3, the condition is true. Since the condition is true, now numbers of I and j, what is the value of I? I is 1 because we have entered the first iteration. Earlier it was 0th iteration, that is 0th row. Now the first iteration is 1. Now 1 comma, what is the value of j? J is 0, that is first row 0th column. So for the first row 0th column the value is 4. This gets printed, right? This is where I is 1. Next, the row remains the same, j gets incremented. That is first row, first column, the value is 5, right? So 5 gets printed. Similarly, j gets incremented first row, second column, right? In first row, second column, what is the value we have? We have provided here, it is 6. Now this has been completed. So when j is 3, 3 is not less than 3. So the condition is false and I value gets incremented to 2. Now the latest value of I is 2. That is, it would be pointing at second column. That is, it would be pointing at second row. Second row means the control will be pointing towards here. So j becomes 0 again. So when j is 0, it will check for the condition. What is the main condition here? Numbers of I dot length. Here the length of third row is 3, right? So length of third row is 3. What is the condition? It will check for j is 0, right? The condition would go as second row, 0th column. This is my second row, right? This is my second row, 0th column. So the value of second row, 0th column, what we have provided here is 7. Similarly, when j gets incremented, it is first column, right? The row remains same but it gets differed by a column because we are incrementing the column value. Now the column value is 8, right? Next, what we have? Second row, second column. So the value of second row, second column is 9, right? So this gets printed here. Now after this, it will move on to the next line because when j gets incremented to 3, 3 cannot be less than 3 because we have provided the condition as j less than numbers of I dot length, not j less than or equal to. If I write as less than or equal to, then this will become a 3 cross 3 matrix, right? 3 cross 3 matrix means 3 rows and 4 columns. In such case, like this will become a 3 cross 3 matrix, right? So it will come out of the loop and where I gets incremented. Now the value of I becomes 3. But when you check 3 less than 3, the numbers dot length means the size of an array. Size of an array is 3. So when 3, it will check for the condition. 3 less than numbers dot length, that is 3. Since the condition is false, it will come out of this for loop, right? It will come out of the for loop and this 3 cross 3 array, this 3 cross 3 matrix would get printed, right? Here many programs include like 3-dimensional array or 4-dimensional array or even a jagged array, or it may be a 5 cross 5 matrix. So all such array matrices will come under 2-dimensional array. Now let us see in the editor. Yes, here this is the program like which I have taken and explained you the same. Here if you see, here I have provided the size of a array as a condition. Next it is the size or length of a particular row. I is nothing but the row which we are defining in the outer loop. If you remember, I explained you about the outer loop and inner loop, how they are represented and why they are used, right? So like if you have not understood, please go back and watch the pattern printing videos. Like I have uploaded many pattern printing videos starting from a scratch to the most advanced video, so that will help you. So here, after checking for every iteration, it will come out and move on to the next line. Yes, now let us see how exactly it runs. Now let me run it. Yes, here if you see, it has provided a 3 cross 3 matrix, right? So initially whatever we have given, that has been provided. The syntax remains same, but only difference what we are doing is we have to change from 1-dimensional array to a 2-dimensional array, right? Then in a single line you are providing the array elements, but this is a set of elements, right? It's not mandatory that you have to give this separate, you have to give them in a separate line. You can just differentiate every array by comma, right? So this is about 2-dimensional array. Thank you.